Right, well, we had our sign flash edit, so we're almost out of time. I'm going to add just one little item to that is, another thing that's really helpful is to have templates. So even if it's something as simple as when you submit a collection request, have a template, so you don't have to rewrite the email every time, and that way you don't forget what you're supposed to include in the request, right? And when you have when you get to close a matter, have a template, so you don't have to think about, what do I have to say in here, what do I say? Just have templates in your email, have templates in Word, have templates in Excel, so you don't have to redo those things every time, because that's just one screen. And that's what takes time, is redoing it every time. You already have to set up, it's fast and it's easy, and you don't forget stuff. Does anybody have any questions for our last question, or any other questions? You're allowed to ask other questions than just those.
I have one. Can you talk generally about the different ways people are coming into the litigation support profession, from the IT world versus the paralegal world, and not necessarily conflict, because I know none of us want to deal with conflict on a regular basis, but the issues that are arising because we're speaking different languages, and whether or not this formal certification movement, and that's what I'm going to call it because it is a movement, whether or not that will help bridge that gap, or if there's something else that you would recommend or that you see happening in that movement.
Well, I'm one of those transplants. And I'll just say, I think it depends on the person.
Okay.
You got to find a person who can speak both languages, to be honest. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think starting, when Lit Support started, it was kind of like you were stepping into the paralegal's turf, right? Because, there may have been some conflict because who does what now, right? I mean, I started as a paralegal 20 years ago or something, and what I do today, I say, is the same as what I did as a paralegal, except it's on the technical side. And at the same time, we don't do everything the paralegals do, and we don't have a firm line drawn in the sand, but we do have kind of a gray line, and things that my department does not do that the paralegals do. And however, then there's some paralegals that want to take on more and more tasks, which they do, and then there's others that say, no, you guys do it. So it kind of varies, but I think it's starting to really even out, and I don't see the conflict now that I think could have occurred way back, because I think we're finding our niches and figuring out who's doing what. And an example of that is like review. We don't do that. So anybody else have conflict issues or thoughts on that?
Well, this is a little maybe outside the scope a little bit, but coming into an environment where litigation support did not exist before, and you fall sometimes under the umbrella of IT, and sometimes IT doesn't see you as an IT person. And so where do you actually fit in this realm where, they see IT, if they're a little bit more dogmatic about it, and they're seeing this as kind of a realm where you sit around, you do coding and stuff, and you put up websites and stuff. Where do you work this relationship where litigation support fits in there, and there's this harmonious thing, but oh my God, you work with attorneys and and paralegals, and we don't do that, we don't speak the language, so every time we have an issue, we go to you, but we're not sure you fit here, and so how does this relationship between the litigation support and an IT department, if that's where we're all going to end up, how do we work out those issues, and is that where we see ourselves going?
My experience is that there's actually IT, and there's paralegals, and then there's lit support. We all need to work together, but there's actually a different type of person that can handle each one of those things as well. And I think, and hopefully I can answer your question the best I can, but I think there's conflicts, and especially early on, and when these are kind of brought into an office to a law firm, but at the same time, later on, that's when you really start seeing the value of each one of the positions. And there are a lot of things that IT can do that I can't do. A lot of things that I'm actually, my background is a paralegal and then lit support, but that I have a lot of respect for what paralegals do and IT. And I think it just takes some time. You have some growing pains because people think that, oh, you work with the computers, but you it's completely different than really what IT does to the board as well. So I think it'll work all together and that they're different positions.
Are there any other questions? Because we are out of time, and we are going to try our best to stay on our schedule so all the panels get their full-time slot. I forgot to tell you, everybody make sure you grab a thumb drive. All this information is on the thumb drive, but there are resources to use.